Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I'm going to be talking about my plan for monthly priorities in 2021. So basically, one of my big goals in my reading is to make sure that I'm making space for a lot of different voices. I think it is so easy to fall into the trap of just reading whatever is mainstream and what we hear about. So I try to challenge myself to really each month pay attention to authors from a certain background to make sure that I am giving some space in my reading and also just space in my way of thinking to these authors and what they have to say. So most months of 2021, I'm going to be devoting to a specific priority. And these priorities are just really to get me to prioritize those authors. Almost all of these are just books that are generally on my TBR anyway, and I'm just making a little extra space for them in a particular month. Okay, so let's talk about what my priorities are for 2021. Most of these are the same as last year. I will link below the video that I did for that, but there's a couple of differences. A lot of these are based on US sort of monthly celebrations of specific heritages. Often there are read-a-thons that also coincide on BookTube with these heritage months. I will link below some of the read-a-thons that happen. I don't always align my TBR with the prompts from the read-a-thons, but if they are announced early enough that I can make my TBR based on them, or it aligns with what I want to read anyway, then I will, but not necessarily. January, I give myself off from priorities and I just use as a TBR catch-up month. February is Black History Month in the US, and it is also the Black-a-thon. March, I'm focusing on Middle Eastern and Indian heritage. This is not a celebration anywhere that I know of, but I just decided I wanted to focus on authors from these areas, and so I made it up. April, I'm going to be focusing on SFF Awards. Last year I had done this in July so that I could read for the Hugo Awards, but I found that was actually a little late in the year. It was also much too late for the BookTube SFF Awards, so this year I'm going to try April and see how that works. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the US. It is also the Asian Readathon. June is Queer Pride Month in the US and the Queer Lit Read-a-thon. July, I'm going to focus on 2021 releases. Last year, I found that there were so many new releases I wanted to get to and just didn't have enough time. But it really matters for a lot of authors that people are reviewing and talking about their books right after they come out. So I want to make sure that, especially for authors who are maybe not getting as much hype for their books, or maybe books that I just really want to get to, that I'm getting to them soon after they're released. August, I'm going to be focusing on African authors. This isn't a US Heritage Month or anything like that, but I definitely want to have a month where I'm focusing on reading a bunch of different authors from Africa. September is Latinx Heritage Month. Technically, this does go from half of September through half of October, but I'm just focusing on it in September. Also, this is the Latinx-a-thon. October is Disability Awareness Month in the US and the Disability Read-a-thon. November is Native American Heritage Month in the US and the Indigenathon. And December, I give myself off as well, so this is another TBR catch-up month. So those are all of the priorities that I have for each month in 2021. I am basically going to be creating 2 videos each month related to that. So right before the month starts, I'm going to be doing a recommendation and TBR video where I recommend a couple of my favorite books that I have read recently that fit into that kind of priority. And then I will also be talking about my TBR. I'm going to be putting 7 books on my TBR for each month, but this is more of a priority list rather than a specific I must get to each of these. My goal is to maybe get to about 5 of the 7 books, but also pick up many other books that aren't necessarily on my TBR, just as I feel in the mood to read them that fit that priority. At the end of the month, I will also have a wrap-up video where I talk about all of the books that I ended up reading that fit that priority, talking about some of the themes that I saw emerge across the different reads, and giving a couple of recommendations for my favorite reads from that priority month. Okay, so that is the plan for my monthly priorities for 2021. If you guys are planning to participate in any of these readathons, or if you guys are doing some sort of other challenge for yourself across 2021, I've heard of a ton of really good challenges that many different people are doing. I'd love to hear about it. Anything that you want to tell me, any recommendations, any thoughts, anything like that, just leave me a comment down below.